Hi, and welcome to the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show. I'm Ginny Robertson, the host of the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show, where I talk with real women who are living their lives on purpose and bringing their unique gifts to the planet. I'm also the founder and publisher of On Purpose Woman magazine and founder of the On Purpose Woman Global Community. Today, I'm excited to bring you a panel of brilliant women. Raise your hands, brilliant women. We're going to be talking about purpose. I know that's a pretty general topic, so we don't know where it's going to go. We're just going to let it kind of go organically. But I want to thank you, Julie Goetzinger, Laurie Morin, and Rosemary Bredeson. Thank you for saying yes today, and I'm really looking forward to where this conversation takes us. So I'd like you to first share a little bit about yourself. Julie, I'm going to start with you.
Sure. I am an astrocartographer, so I study the energy of location. I've spent the last 6 months traveling to my different astrocartography lines to experiment, with the energy of love and prosperity and all different things. And that's what I'm helping clients with now, figuring out where to move or travel to activate different parts of their lives.
Nice. And do you have a website?
I do, juliegetzinger.com.
Great. That will be in the text of this video a little bit later after we wrap this up. So check out Julie's website. And Laurie, how about you?
Hey, everybody. I am a writer who is working on my second book about the 1970s. And I'm also a writing coach. I like to help people take their personal stories and turn them into a book. Usually, for the people I work with, it's a book that they're writing to help somebody else, to empower women, to help people change their lives. And I just want to say, Julie, I lead retreats and I have to get with you because it would be fabulous to learn where's the best place to have a writing retreat.
It's a great question. Yeah. Laurie, what is your website?
It's lauriemorin.com.
Okay, that's easy. You're both
That's
easy.
easy.
Yeah. Rosemary.
Well, I'm Rosemary Robertson Bredeson, the scientific mystic, and I help mostly women entrepreneurs figure out their purpose, figure out why they're here, and then learn how to be their authentic self in the world and remove the blocks and the stories and the repatterning that needs to happen so they can manifest that authentic self in the world. And my website is thescientificmystic.com. My background is the Hubble Space Telescope, math and science, and I changed careers to become a spiritual healer, a mentor, and a medium.
We were talking before we went live here about the changes that some people have gone through to really flip careers. And it reminded me of a book I've always wanted to write. And it's called From There to Here, taking women who've made these really different kind of, my background's in corporate finance. This isn't like a huge difference. I mean, it's very different from that, but it's just not as an escape. But like our friend Lilia, went from being a lawyer with the state of Maryland to writing a book about how to connect with angels. That's different. And so I think there's a book out there to be had. I just have to figure out who's going to write it if I don't. So, Rosemary, thanks for leading me into that. I'm going to stay with you. And when you hear the term life purpose, what does it mean to you?
I would say over time that definition for me has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember about 12, 15 years ago, a client coming to me and saying, "You said you could help me figure out my purpose. That's why I'm here." And now that I offer human design readings for my clients and I help them figure out their human design, we connected to the gene keys. I'm understanding that purpose is really about how you put your unique self and fit it into the jigsaw puzzle called life. And so it can change, like you can think your purpose is to educate women. And then you start finding that, oh, well, teenage girls are really the ones who need this material. Or, like we talk about changing our careers, did our purpose really shift?
Right.
Or are we fulfilling it in a different way? And how do we just make sure we're being authentic? And so I look at life purpose as a cyclical thing and something that's evolving.
I appreciate that because, when I started out years ago, and I created this group called On Purpose Networking for Women. That's what it was called back then. To me, purpose had two meanings. One could be that people are on track, they've got goals, they're going down the road to getting them, very more left brain stuff. And then the right brain piece is, why am I here? What am I here to express? And so I thought, well, I'll appeal to both people who think they know what that word means, right? And but I remember back then, there weren't that many books being written, but when I would talk to somebody or read something about purpose, it felt to me like I was supposed to hear this voice out of the sky, or I was supposed to go sit on a mountaintop and this voice was coming down and say, Ginny, you are here too. And it might happen that way for some people if they have the luxury of sitting on a mountaintop for a while, but that doesn't happen that way for a lot of us, I don't think. So let's see, Julie, I think I want to go to, no, yeah, Julie, I'm going to go to you next. When you hear the term life purpose, what does that say to you?
Life purpose, it just feels so big. And I think for me, I've been searching for it for my whole life. I'm 44. And then I just realized it's more about like feeling on purpose. And in this moment, how can I feel more on purpose? So it's a day-to-day thing. And I think it's being mindful of like, how can I be of contribution? I think is what we all ultimately want to contribute. We want to bring something to our loved ones, to the earth, to the universe. Like we want to make an impact. I think we all do. But when we think of life purpose, it's so big that I think people get overwhelmed and they start to criticize themselves and be like, I haven't found it yet. I still haven't found it yet. And it's really nothing to find. It's just like in this moment, how could I feel more on purpose? How could I be more mindful? How could I be of more contribution to myself or others?
That's beautiful. Yeah, I don't think for me, purpose isn't found, it's uncovered. It's like this, it's there, right? And you're right. I used to have people say, well, my purpose, I don't even know what it is. Isn't it supposed to be big? And it's like, not everybody can go, nobody can really stop world hunger or end world hunger, but we can all do our little piece of it. And I think we think if it's not something huge, then it's not really purpose. It must be something else. Not true. And you both have said that beautifully. Laurie, what does that mean to you, life purpose?
Well, Ginny, I love this conversation because, like the other speakers here, I spent a long time chasing my life purpose, and I thought it had to be defined by what I did. So when I was a lawyer, I was like, is this really my purpose? And when I was a law professor, it was like, oh, maybe my purpose is really to teach students. But over the years, I realized, and especially after I retired, it really isn't about what you do. It's about who you are. So I love the human design aspect that you brought up, because if you're expressing authentically who you are and sharing your gifts with the world, I think you're living on purpose.
I do too. I agree with that very much. And like Rosemary said, our purpose doesn't really, I don't think our purpose changes, but the way we express it can change. I mean, it's a good thing, right? Because otherwise we'd be like slammed into a career we didn't want to be in anymore, or doing something, but there's always some thread that connects it, I think. And Laurie, I'm going to stay with you. For a listener who wants to explore her purpose, what might be a good first step?
Um, you gave us this question in advance, and I actually came up with 3 first steps, but I'll do them real fast.
Okay.
So I think, because we're talking about who you are. So the first one is just simple. What do you really love doing? That's usually a pretty good clue to what your life purpose is. Something that you would do all day, even if you weren't being paid for it, that probably is expressing your authentic self. But another one, I'll just give you 2. I did an exercise years ago that really helped me figure out the part of it of who I really am, because I don't think we always see ourselves clearly. And the exercise, which I got from a coaching group I was in, was to ask 5 people, colleagues or close friends, to give me 5 words that described me. And they came up with words like thoughtful and kind and loving. And I was like, that is who I am. And I try to do everything that I do in the world with kindness and with love. And maybe that's enough of a purpose. But I think seeing it through other people's eyes can really help.
Yeah, yeah, I really like that. Julie,
Mhm.
what's a nice first step for someone just starting to explore this?
I think looking at what makes you feel the most alive, like feeling just that like timelessness as you're doing it. It's like, wow, I can't believe I've been doing this for so many hours and like this is so much fun. Like I can't wait to do it again. Like it's an energy of exhilaration, aliveness, excitement. And I think it's not attached to money at all. It's like money can come from it, but it's not you don't need money to be on purpose or to express your purpose. It's an impact of being on purpose. But I do believe that it's really like that feeling of aliveness is that we want. So what makes you feel that way and do more of that?
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
Rosemary, what do you want to add?
Well, obviously, I think finding something like human design to help you mine what you've already known about yourself. I usually tell my clients when we're doing the reading, this shouldn't shock you. It should confirm something. And I think there's a permission aspect too. That first step, it's like, is it okay for me to be my authentic self? Is it okay that I can be out there with doing what lights my fire or what really lights me up? And so I think that giving yourself permission to be your authentic self is probably like step 0.0, so that you can take one of these other steps we've talked about and then really get so that you're in, I call it alignment. I think that alignment with who you are authentically points you in the direction of living your purpose.
Wow, thank you. Laurie, you want to give us your third one?
um, Not at the moment. I don't remember what it was. So
Okay. If it comes to
I
you,
hope it will come up.
yes, please just say, oh,
Mhm,
I want to tell you now. Okay.
mhm.
So, Julie, how did you get to this place of being more purpose driven? You mentioned that you've been looking all of your life. I can't say I was looking all my life because I didn't even know anything about purpose till I was in my 30s. So the first third of my life, well, not quite the first third, but was spent mostly in oblivion. So how did you get to this place? I mean, what was the path for you? You're only 44 years old.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, I read birth charts. So for me, I'm a Pisces rising, and Pisces has the innate like need to commit to a dream. And like we just feel this bigness of our purpose. It's just a part of who we are.
Mm.
And I felt it ever since I was a little girl. I really always remember just being like, what am I meant here to like? What am I here to be? Like, what am I like? I really remember that from a very young age, just having that like burning desire to be on purpose to serve others. I always remember that. And then later in life, it did translate to okay, career. I need to pick a career path, which was very hard for me because I'm a Gemini sun. I have a lot of interests and I'm very creative and a lot of things I can do and a lot of different avenues I can go down. So I had a really hard time deciding. And then I realized that purpose wasn't just your career. And I was like, oh, then I can let go of that and just choose what feels good, choose what feels good in the moment. And then permission to shift at any time. Like we're not stuck to any one path. It's really about you right now, right here, right now. This feels like my purpose. So I'm going to do more of that.
Oh, that's great. And I can hear some people now going, permission to shift at any time, permission to change direction anytime, because, Rosemary and I are close to the same age. I think Laurie's right in there, close, maybe not quite there yet. Uh, and back in the day, you got a career and you were supposed to stick with it for the rest of your life. And even changing jobs in the same career was not looked upon favorably. I never understood that because it's like, aren't I getting better when I get this promotion? When I change companies, I'm getting, no, but you'll be seen as a job hopper. So that whole
Right.
box that we put ourselves in. So my son is your age, Julie, and he wasn't raised with that same mentality that we have to go do something for the rest of our lives, no matter what our education is in, no matter what we think we're going to do. And I think at any age we can make that decision, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's see. We're getting through these questions really quick. So I hope we're just going to have a general discussion after this, but I'm going to go back to Rosemary and say, Rosemary, How does living your life with purpose support you in both your personal and professional lives? And if you all want to take a little more time with this question and embellish it a bit, we've got time for that. So,
well, I think it's interesting to really look at life as a whole. And so I have a client who's a business coach, and she's talking about life first businesses. And I think that's really a helpful model for people to start looking at, where before it was like you have this business, and then over there, if you have any time left over, especially if you're an entrepreneur, then it's for family things or whatever. And and so I think that when we're talking about kind of living on purpose or being our authentic selves, it manifests in better relationships. It manifests in health. It manifests in the prosperity aligned with our alignment with whatever we define success or prosperity or abundance as. So I think that the way it shows up is that you are that little puzzle piece I was talking about, and fitting into the whole jigsaw puzzle of life around you. And I think like if I go back to my calling, and Julie, you were talking about as a kid, I think that we can look at children at play and predict what they're on the planet for. And so I go back and I remember lining the neighborhood kids up on the sidewalk and playing priest. Now, I was raised Catholic, so there weren't any women on the altar, but I would use Necco wafers and give them communion. And they had to line up for me if they wanted a Necco wafer. I would put it, I mean, I thought about that when I got ordained in 1996. It's like, oh yeah, back there as a kid, I was doing that. That you could see that. And then I was always doing classrooms. I was always teaching, always teaching. And so I never actually taught in a classroom per se, but that teacher part was there. I wanted to impart knowledge. And I didn't realize it was going to come from channeling. I didn't realize that, when I heard the call to become a spiritual healer, I was working on the Hubble, and it was a very hard call to answer because I kept thinking, you want what? No, I'm having fun, right? And
I love it when you say, I was having dinner with the astronauts, right?
I know. I thought about, you want me to stop doing this? And kind of a glamorous thing. But that call got so strong to become a spiritual healer. I didn't know what that was until the universe started giving me answers. And so when I think about purpose, and when I think about the whole living of it, it's like you drop into it. It's not something you chase after. It's not something you grab. It's like you relax into living your purpose. You relax into living your authentic self. And then whatever tools we've talked about that help you get to that, so that you can really be in alignment with it. I think it's the quest for relaxing into who we truly are. And I think that'll then show up just like shining light on every aspect of life.
Rosemary, I've been friends a long time, and there's something else that was going on for you around that same time that you talk about freely. And I would love for you to touch on that, because I think it's a real lesson for some people to pay attention to some things, right?
Well, the call to get out of what I was doing was a physical call. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, because I was resisting and fighting this spiritual call. And I had fibromyalgia badly enough that my doctor said, I'm going to write a script for 4 months of short-term disability for you to do the dark night of the soul. And that was really a turning point. I was studying because I kind of thought, well, maybe someday I'll have a little side business as a coach, counselor kind of thing. So I was studying hypnosis. I was studying NLP tools. And so I was using them on one of the things you do is you use them on yourself, right? And then I thought, well, I explored this mystery school that was a seminary. But again, if you want to be a counselor, you have to go through counseling. You have to do all this work. So I spent the 4 months, and the doctor said, this is not to sit and watch soap operas and eat bonbons for 4 months. I really did a lot of work on myself for those 4 months in the dark night of the soul. And at the end, I realized, oh, I can't go back. I can't go back to the job because I'm not here to be that. And it doesn't mean I wasn't being a mentor in the job. So I think you were talking, and the other speakers were talking about, you kind of have been this, you've been living it. But I knew that that was not the place where I could be myself. And I kind of had to let go and relax and then just hang out my shingle. Okay, I'm a spiritual mentor. Okay, I'm a medium. All right, I can connect you to loved ones on the other side. I had psychologists bringing people to me to do that. So that you get that confirmation from the outside as well, that, okay, there's a reason you're here, because you are that unique puzzle piece and people need your uniqueness. And it wasn't being shown. Going to dinner with the astronauts. Fun, but not what I was on the planet for.
Wow, I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Laurie, do you remember the question? Because I can read it again.
I think I remember the question. And just to kind of follow up on what Rosemary was saying, I think this idea of being in alignment, what it leads to is a much more fulfilling life, because when you're living in alignment, everything comes to you that matters to you. Like for me, I've been a lifelong seeker of knowledge. And there's so many tools. I remember the other tool I wanted to talk about, and that is archetypes. And one of the things that helped me figure out who I really was and what I wanted to be doing in the world was I took Carolyn Mace's course on archetypes. And it's a very in-depth course, and she goes into sacred contracts and all this stuff. But really just playing with the different archetypes and figuring, I have a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but I have a lot of this teacher archetype. And, I've been on this lifelong journey for knowledge, and it's not just any knowledge, it's spiritual knowledge. It's understanding what life is all about and what we're here for. And, what I'm here for is to share that and to help other people who are on that same path to get where they want to go in life. And it involves giving up a lot of trappings sometimes, like the space hubble. What a prestigious career, right? But sometimes you have to let go of that stuff. I got a lot of external approval for being a law professor. People were very impressed by that. But trying to live and learn and teach a spiritual path while you're doing law is a little bit difficult. And doing it as a writer is much more in alignment with who I am. So I'm much happier. I think that's the bottom line. If you live in alignment and you're really expressing your authentic self and you're living your life purpose, doesn't mean it's going to be easy all the time, doesn't mean you don't face challenges and obstacles, but you have a sense of well-being that nobody can take from you.
Thank you. Such wisdom. I feel the need to go in and transcribe this video, and I could do quotes from all of you that could go for days. So maybe I'll have Anne do that. Julie, do you remember the question? How does living your life with purpose support you in your personal and professional life?
Oh, I love it. So how does it support you in your personal life? I think I've had to learn that lesson the hard way, that I spent most of the past couple of years on this mission to feel on purpose and of contribution. And it was the most important thing. And I did let some of the personal things fall aside a little bit, family relationships, friendships, romantic partnerships. None of it was as important to me as my purpose. And I focused so intensely on that I realized that the super focus on that was actually to my detriment. And other areas of my life, I did not feel well, and I did not feel complete as a person, because life is about balance. And when I realized that during the eclipse season, it came to me. September 17th actually was the last eclipse where I just felt like I had this huge wake up call that I'd been too super focused on purpose. and that there were other areas in my life that mattered too. And as I relaxed into the other areas, everything would balance out, and it has, and it's shifted dramatically since. And I feel like it's more about balance. I think that life is about balance and looking at what's important to you in all areas of your life. And I always say, like, health comes number one to me. And I write on my affirmations board, I prioritize my body and my health first and foremost. Like, that comes first every single day. We have nothing without our health. And I really believe that's my greatest source of abundance that God gave me, is my body and my health. And I take the best care of that. And then looking at all areas of your life, how am I prioritizing family, friendships, romantic life, career, all of it is important. So that's what I've learned around personal. And then professional, yeah, if what you're doing is just to make money, it's not going to work. I've tried that so many times in business, like, oh, this person did this, I'll just do this. And it might work a little bit, for a little while. And then it falls flat because it's not our purpose. It's not our words. It's not our mission. And we can't replicate somebody else's mission and have it last for us. So I had to do a lot of internal work, and that's why I traveled around for the past 6 months, because I needed to be in isolation and I need to be in solitude to hear my intuition and to stop asking anybody on the outside what I should do or what's best for me in my life. And knowing that they were all sharing their own perspectives from their view from their human body is different. And that time of going within really helped me to see, what do I want to be doing professionally, and detaching the money piece from it. Because in business, I feel like a lot of it is money driven. Is this going to be profitable for me, rather than is this going to be enjoyable for me? And choosing things from a place of joy is much more fulfilling. And it's what we all really want. We want to feel fulfilled. We want to feel on purpose. And then everything else comes from that. So I think this is a little bit like what the other ladies were saying. It's about alignment, and it's aligning all areas of our lives. And we are going to prioritize different things, and at different times in our lives we'll prioritize different things. Like, as a single mom, I had to prioritize professional life because I needed money to pay the bills. I didn't have a partner. I still don't have a partner. So I felt like I had to prioritize that. But in doing that, I let other areas go, and then I'm not happy and they're not happy. So it's like coming back to balance again and again, coming back to alignment again and again. And I don't know that we can just find it forevermore. I think it's a constant coming back, rather than just a one time done. Oh, I figured it out. I think on the human journey, the whole human journey, we will have to come back and trust that it's going to shift and change throughout our lives. And that's just the way it's meant to be too.
So Julie, it sounds like we're catching you fresh out of this new experience and new findings for yourself. I had no idea.
Yeah, perfect timing. Your talks are always perfectly timed for me. It always makes me laugh. Like, your topics and your talks are always in alignment. And even the talk about the puzzle pieces that Rosemary was sharing. I had a conversation today with one of my friends who's a coach about puzzle pieces. I had a conversation yesterday. He actually asked me to paint a puzzle piece on his door, which was so random. But just another sign from the universe, right? Like, here's another synchronicity.
That's right. That's right. And I love what you said about how we have to keep coming back to it, because I started laughing when you said, I don't think you just get there and stay there. And I think we all can agree that anytime we think we're there, something's going to blow up, right? Get our attention. It could be anything. It could be we get sick. It could be somebody just yells at us for something, or relationship tanks. We start to doubt everything, or we have a dark night of the soul or something like that. So, and I think if we don't keep revisiting it, we're not going to still continue to live in that space, because as Rosemary and maybe the rest of you have also said, it's constantly, not the purpose isn't evolving, but how we express it can be constantly evolving. I think I believe that part of my purpose, at least part, if not all, is to connect women and give them opportunities to be seen and heard. I've been doing that for a very long time. And I remember a number of years ago, one of my best friends from high school, unfortunately, she's no longer with us, but she and her husband had bought a house, excuse me, a house on the island where I love to go vacation, where my parents lived near there in their retirement, Oak Island, North Carolina. And I'd seen that she was on Oak Island, and we'd lost touch. I hadn't seen her in years. And I Facebook messaged her and I said, why are you on Oak Island? How do you know Oak Island? She goes, well, when your parents moved here, my parents came to visit. And we've been coming here on vacation ever since. And Dana and I bought a house for when we retire. And so they retired. They're living down there. She's my age. So it was probably about, 8 years ago. And I remember going into Dawn one morning and saying, Debbie's living at the beach and she gets to put her toes in the sand every day. I want to put my toes in the sand every day. And he said, would that be enough for you? And I said, I don't know. I was whining. I don't know, but I really would like to try it. And he goes, well, here's what I think would happen. He said, you'd be out on the beach, you'd be walking down the beach, you'd spot a woman coming towards you, you'd stop and you'd start having a conversation. Then you'd see another woman walking by herself. You'd call her over and you would start a three-way conversation. Next thing you know, you're having a meeting on the beach. And that really helped me because I saw that, yeah, I will always do this, whether I'm making money from it or not. I will always have this desire to introduce people to each other or do something like that. And that really told me, yes, I think this is why I'm here. I'm really good at it too. And so it's great sometimes to be around people who know you sometimes better than you know yourself, at least consciously, right? So this has been wonderful. And what time is it? We're doing so great on time. I want to go back and see if anybody has anything you want to add to anything, comment on something somebody else said, or just add something new to the page. Rosemary. Yeah.
What you were just saying reminds me of how easy it is to see that in human design, that we know who the networkers are and we know those pieces to put together. So it's not like the outside telling you who you are, who you're here to be. It's just the support of, you really do have this wiring, and human design incorporates the astrology and the I Ching from the ancient Chinese and the Kabbalah and quantum physics, because it talks about the neutrinos. And I think that these tools, like if you put that together with the Enneagram, say, or astrocartography, like, well, let's take you to Oak Island. Let's look if your lines go through Oak Island and see if that's not a place where, now that you moved, because we used to do these on purpose meetings in person. And then with COVID, we went online. And now you've got this global community that you couldn't have if you made it in person. And you could be anywhere. You could have the toes in the sand in the morning and the meetings in the afternoon, right? So I think that when we look at all of the tools that come together, they give us little pieces of the pot, this little piece over here. And I would bet that if everybody took advantage of the things that the four of us offer, and so, right, you come into the network and you meet people, and then you get the astrocartography done, and then you have your human design reading, and I connect people to the multiple dimensions they're living in. And then they go and they write their story with Laurie, and you put those things together, and it's like, when we keep on the quest, or as you said, Laurie, you're a seeker. It's like, if we forget about the seeker stage, then we kind of atrophy. I don't think, I think we either go backwards or we evolve. And if we're not evolving, if we're not seeking something new, if we're not still challenging, or some way to put things together, then I think that that's not living, that's surviving.
Mm-hmm. I really appreciate you saying that, because there could be some people watching, and I know some people who would go, oh, I can do that. I can keep seeking. I mean, I'm not supposed to find it and like stick with it. Again, we touched on that earlier about, this idea that we have to do this thing forever, but just in the spiritual realm and seeking new modalities or going to different practitioners, and it could even be just from a health perspective. Oh, I've done this. Now I'm going to try this exercise. And somebody say, well, why don't you just stick to one thing and do it right? Well, maybe that's not the right thing for me. And so we need to give ourselves permission and shut out the noise from the other people. As Julie said, everybody will have an opinion about what you're doing from their perspective. And typically, in my experience, it's been a limited perspective of what they want from me, what they think something's going to change with, with what they get from me or need from me or imagine they might get or need from me if I do this other thing. There's a bit of, I would say selfishness in there, but not in a negative way, just this selfishness that says, self-preservation, but I don't want you to change because you're good just the way you are. Anybody ever hear that from friends back in the day? I don't know why you're doing all that. You're fine.
Yeah.
Why are you going to therapy, Jenny? You're fine. I said, apparently you don't know me that well. If you think I'm fine, right? Right. How about you, Laura? You want to add anything?
Well, I was thinking yes and to what everybody's saying. Um, I'm a lifelong seeker. I think it's wonderful to keep exploring and keep on learning and growing and evolving. And I think it's really important to acknowledge and to take it in that we're enough already. We're enough the way we are. And we don't need more training and more education in order to live our purpose. We could start living our purpose in the next minute by tuning in to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, like everything else, it's a paradox. It's not a simple answer.
Yeah. Because really is nothing to be fixed. You're right. We are not broken. We do not need to be fixed. Thank you for those wise words. Julie.
I just wanted to add that if people are worried about you or concerned about you, it means you're doing it right. Because I mean, I know personally, I'm an innovator and I'm here to not just innovate myself, but to show others like how much more is available and possible to them. And I do get a lot of people just kind of looking at me like, what is she doing now? Where are you going now? What are when are you coming back? Like all those questions. And when I say I don't know, or I don't know, we'll see. They're like, what do you mean you don't know? What's the plan? What's your game plan? And I'm like, the game plan is to trust, is to follow my intuition. And in this latest journey that I just did, yeah, I came to the place of I'm ready to settle back down in Maryland for a little while. For how long, I don't really know, but for now, like this feels really good to be here, and I do feel a homecoming. Like my people are all excited I'm back, but then they're still kind of looking at me like, well, how long will she be back? And like, what's your next plan? But I think those of us who are spiritual teachers and leaders, like we're here to innovate and inspire, and we do it through example. And I think that because I used to think I was doing it wrong when people were concerned or worried, and then I actually came to this with my therapist, and I was like, oh, it means I'm doing it right. And he's like, yes, keep doing more of that. Anything that challenges the norm is actually expanding the universe. So like keep doing more of that because we need more expansion.
Oh, that's so true. Because people will respond to us again because I realized when I left my corporate job and took a 60% pay cut to go work for the transformational seminar company, people, especially the people in my industry and my friends that I worked with, thought I had lost my mind. And, I got all these questions, well, what about your benefits? What about your retirement plan? And it's like, none of that mattered to me. I had to leave because my soul was being crushed there. And what I came to realize is that other people cannot imagine, if they can't imagine doing something, they sure can't imagine somebody else doing it. And so they were coming to this place of love in many instances and care because they thought I was making a big mistake. But I also had people who are like are a little jealous. What do you mean you get to go? You get to what? How come you get to go do that? And it's like, because I'm taking a 60% pay cut and I made a decision. You got to go out there and take some risk. But there will be people who like stand back and go, oh, I could never do that. And instead of just saying I could never do that and living with it, it's like, and you shouldn't either, right? So it's just interesting. It's human, kind of all that human stuff that we do. And again, some of it is because they're fearful of what the relationship might look like if you make those big changes as well. So I know I told you I wanted a final word of wisdom from you, and it could be something you've already said, but with like a sentence or two of what do you think is the most important thing you want people to know about purpose, Rosemary?
The most important thing, I think, is to go inside and to find a way that you can listen to the inside intuition we've talked about, or guidance, or your spirit, your soul's message for you. And we just have to give ourselves permission that it's okay for me to speak what I'm getting inside and live it out in the world. And it really doesn't matter what other people say. But until we can trust, if you can't trust your own intuition, then whose can you trust? Right?
Yeah. Thank you. Laurie.
So I agree 100%, and that's what I was going to say. So I'll shift it a little bit. um, Listening to the richness of this conversation just made me think, yes, this is why I think it's important for people to share their stories. Because imagine how many people are listening, and we've got 4 very different people here on very different paths, and something's going to resonate with somebody. So if you're afraid to put your words out into the world, what I would say to you is your words may be the words that somebody needs to hear.
Thank you. And Julie.
When you asked that question, that came to my mind was, how can I be more present? I believe that purpose and presence go together, and we're really here to be present and immersed in the moment. And even if it's a painful one, like, be all in it, like, be all there and soak up everything you can from that experience. That's going to expand your soul, and all of it, I believe, is destined and chosen. But the question I just wanted to leave with is, how can you be more present?
I love it. Thank you. And I'm going to take a page from all of your books here about, and promote myself a little bit, because as we're having this conversation, I'm looking at us on the screen with these different brilliant ideas and pieces of wisdom. Is we really need to surround ourselves with other women who are, they don't have to be necessarily like-minded women, but women who are out there telling their stories, sharing their work. We've got women here, like Rosemary said, who are offering brilliant things that can help with this, but also to be around women who are willing to be vulnerable and talk about their path. You have all done that so beautifully today. Women who are willing to step out of the box and be seen, and to show that, I did this a bit differently. This may not be for you, but there's something out there that is for you. So find yourself a group of women. If you can't find it, I certainly do invite you to come and check out the On Purpose Women Global Community Gatherings on Zoom. That link is in the text of this video, but a place where you can show up and kind of practice being you. Get comfortable with whoever the you is that's showing up right now. But also, if you can't do that, or that doesn't speak to you, find that one other woman that you can share these dreams with, share these ideas with, and they're not going to try to fix you or help you, or they're just going to listen, and they're going to share with you. These peer relationships, because we really need those. I don't want to be counseled by a peer. I want to be inspired by a peer. I want to be, oh, what do you think of that? Oh, I love that. Have you thought of this? And just have this kind of brainstorming session and all of that. So really, the company of other women is imperative from where I sit. So you all agree with me on that one?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And join the global community if you're not a member, because that's
yes, join the global community if you're not a member. Come and check us out. Come and check out one of our 8 Zoom meetings, or an in-person in Columbia, Maryland, or Tallahassee, Florida. And I want to thank you again, ladies, Laurie, Julie, Rosemary, for saying yes to this, and for showing up, and for just sharing your best stuff. You guys shared some really good stuff today. So thank you so much, and for being in my lives, because I couldn't do this work without women like you. So thank you.
Thank you, Ginny, for giving us a place where we can go to be seen and heard just as who we are.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you for gathering us.
Well, go ahead. Yes, Rosemary?
I said, thank you for gathering us.
You're welcome. It's what I do. I gather women. Yes. Julie, did you want to add anything? I don't want to talk over you.
This was so much fun. Thank you so much for bringing us
welcome.
together in this conversation.
Okay, you're so welcome. And I want to thank anyone who's watching the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show, either live here on Facebook or on our YouTube channel. please check out that YouTube channel for informative interviews like this one. There are always also videos where I chat with the contributing writers to On Purpose Woman magazine, and we record all of our talks on the On Purpose Woman Global Community Zoom gatherings. So you can take advantage of all that expertise, wisdom, and heart that comes across in all of those videos. So thank you again for watching the Real Women Real Talk show. I appreciate you being here.